The Italians, this is after they discovered Greek tragedy, again, after the Dark Ages. So we're talking about 1400, 1500, something like that. And when the Italians discovered Greek tragedy, they decided to try to imitate Greek tragedy, but what they invented was opera, which was different because the rules became different, and it was much more about the melody of the music and much more emphasis on the music. In Greek tragedy, there was a lot of music, but it was dialogue with music, you know, poetry with music. It wasn't arias, you know, and it wasn't harmony. And you didn't have the complex Western harmony that you have in operas. You have a different kind of music. I mean, we've listened to a lot of attempts to recreate Greek music of 400 BC, 500 BC. There's almost no notation, so the scholars are making guesses what the Greek music sounded like. Different. You know, there was the harp, there was percussion, there was some bells and things, and flutes, but they didn't have the violin, they didn't have the bassoon, they didn't have the wind, you know, they didn't have any of the things in a modern orchestra. But the thing that they hadn't invented yet was harmony. And so, and you don't have the same idea about harmony and counterpoint in Greek tragedy. The music is more like a recitative accompanied by music, instead of actually singing harmony and singing, you know, arias. So it's very, very different. The Italians thought that they were recreating Greek tragedy, but they weren't. They were inventing something new from their ideas on what Greek tragedy was. All they knew was that Greek tragedy was sung, but they didn't know how it was sung. And by the time we have the Italian opera singers and the style developing, the singing is very different. The voices are much bigger. They have vibrato. They probably didn't have in Greece. And the chorusing in Greece was not, as far as I know, was not harmony. And so the music sounded very, very different. It sounded like reading a poem over music instead of actually, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Ted, but instead of, you know, instead of the complex counterpoint and harmony that you have written in this opera, it was more like reading a poem over music, you know. So I think that the whole form is tremendously different. Even though the Italians thought they were imitating Greek tragedy, they weren't. They were inventing something new. And Ted's opera is in the modern tradition. It's not Greek tragedy. It's a modern opera based on a Greek tragedy.